Elena Grebenchikova, known as Dr. G, focuses on MS and neuroimmunology at Northwestern University Medical Center here in Chicago. We appreciate your time. This really has shed a big light on MS and what we don't know about this disease. But I want to start with what life is going to look like for Christina Applegate. What changes is she going to have to make in her daily life to manage this diagnosis?
Well, I think MS is overall as somewhat of a common disease. About 1 million people in the United States currently live with MS. And I think that ultimately MS affects everybody differently. It depends on what kind of MS you have. So some people can have relapsing remitting MS, where they can have attacks or relapses, which means developing new neurological symptoms over a day or a couple of days or a couple of weeks. And then a substantial number of these patients actually improve, partially or improve, even sometimes completely. And there are long periods of time when they are doing fine, when there are no other new symptoms. They may carry some residual symptoms. Like, for example, if a woman's attack resulted in numbness in the right arm, that numbness may have resolved or may have become better, may have improved over a couple of weeks or days or months, and then she may have only mild residual symptoms. And then a year may pass by and she may do fine, and then something, if she's untreated, could happen again. So, for example, that person could develop blurred vision in the eye, in one eye or both eyes, very rarely in MS, or they may develop weakness in a leg. And again, those symptoms, even with treatment, can sometimes improve pretty dramatically. But in many patients, there is some residual neurological deficit that gives them some residual trouble in their daily activities. So everybody is different. I think when MS is caught early, people generally can have very good prognosis when they start good medications that control their disease activity well. Many young women, which it is predominantly a disease of young women, an average onset of MS is actually 27, 29 years of age, and a minority of patients are diagnosed with late onset MS, which is over 40 years of age. Now, many patients who are diagnosed over the age of 40 doesn't necessarily mean that that's when their MS truly started, because the journey to the diagnosis is so long. For many people, sometimes it takes years of people sharing non-specific symptoms with their doctors or with their family members until they finally get diagnosed. Other types of MS are secondary progressive MS and primary progressive MS. In primary progressive MS, people can have slow but steady decline in their motor function, in their balance, and also cognitive abilities like memory and focus and attention. The same thing can happen in secondary progressive MS. So in secondary progressive MS, there is also a steady decline in walking ability, in balance, and a large part of people who are initially diagnosed with relapsing remitting MS may over time, over many years, become secondary progressive MS. So in summary, everybody's different. It really depends at the time of the diagnosis, the mode of treatment, and also the uniqueness of the person genetically. How well are they able to remyelinate, to recover? And each one of us is so unique in that respect. We know that MS affects women more commonly, 3 times more commonly as men. And even in certain ethnic groups, MS can be more active, a little bit more aggressive. We know that people who are affected with MS can struggle with a lot of symptoms beyond what I just described, right? They can experience a lot of chronic pain, muscle stiffness, spasticity, fatigability when walking, particularly in the hot weather, and generally a lot of fatigue. And a lot of them, many of them actually, struggle with some cognitive issues that are poorly recognized.
A lot that we still have to learn, but what I'm hearing is manageable if caught early, which is good news. Dr. G, thank you for helping us shed a light on this tonight.
My pleasure.